Is foreign money, mostly Western money, leaving China? To answer that question, I can hardly think of a better person than Nicholas Burns, the current U.S. ambassador to China.
There are a lot of American companies here. Have a lot of them just picked up and left because of this current business environment?
You know, that's interesting. Not many.
Not many?
Not many.
Why not?
China is the second largest economy in the world. It's a big market. So a few American companies have left, but most have stayed.
Yeah, some American companies may be a bit reluctant these days to expand their operations or investments in China. A few even moved parts of their operations to cheaper places like Southeast Asia. While at it, most American companies chose to stay. Why? Because the Chinese market is simply too big to resist. Brookings Institution estimates that by 2027, 1.2 billion Chinese will be in the middle class. That's 3 times the total population of the United States and 4 times that of the European Union. Let me give you a specific example. 474 million trips were made around China's Lunar New Year holiday, where people spent some 600 billion RMB, or around 90 billion US dollars. And that is the revenue generated in the week. Now, in fact, the number of newly established firms in China receiving foreign direct investment stand over 50,000. That is a steady increase, if you look at this chart, in the past 10-year period. In fact, the total number of enterprises in receiving foreign direct investment grew consistently in the past decade. Look at this. Many countries from Europe and the Arab world stepped up their investment in China. Volkswagen, Saudi Aramco, most of the sovereign funds from the oil-rich Gulf nations. When everyone in the West is talking about how scary China is, you get scared. And the US government is obviously not helping. The State Department increased the China travel alert to level 3, orange alert, or reconsider travel, putting China on par with Honduras, Guatemala, Niger, Nicaragua, and Chad, and barely ahead of Afghanistan, Yemen, and Iraq. Are you kidding me? And the reason cited was, quote-unquote, due to arbitrary enforcement of local laws, including in relation to exit bans and the risk of wrongful detentions. Well, those who have been to China know that it is an absurd exaggeration of what's happening on the ground, especially to those law-abiding foreigners visiting or doing business in China. But the State Department warning sends a message. Say, if you're a mother, if you're an American mother going on the website and saw your government's warning about going to China, would you still want your kids to be traveling or studying there? Would businesses or investors still want to increase their bets in this market? See, I'm not saying China doesn't have problems or things to work on, but many obstacles to access the Chinese market is not actually from within China, but from sanctions and restrictions from the West. It started with President Joe Biden's chips ban to China, asking U.S. companies not to buy or sell to China, and then targeting Chinese electric vehicles, or EVs, which is already the biggest in the world. 60% of the world's total electric vehicles are produced by China. President Joe Biden ordered a security review of, quote-unquote, connected vehicles produced by Chinese manufacturers, whatever that means, while the European Union has been investigating subsidies into the Chinese EVs industry since last fall. And the irony of all this is the United States does not import many vehicles, if at all, from China in the first place, though Europe was the top destination for Chinese EVs in the year 2023. Yes, there were some difficulties coming off COVID and its related management and control, but China is working hard to fine-tune its policies and making the lives of foreign investors and visitors easier.
国外的游客到国内旅游，一定也能享受到跟国内游客一样的这种在吃住行购物等方面的便利。
将坚持做到对国有企业、民营企业跟外资企业的知识产权一视同仁、同等保护。
From China's recent policy meeting known as the Two Sessions, more sectors are expected to open up to foreign stakeholders like IT, Medicare, and the grain industries. And the recent government work report emphasized once again that there must be consistency in the implementation of laws and regulations to Chinese and foreigners alike.
Growing at 4 to 5% a year, and of course on a global basis, that's a rather rapid growth for the largest market in the world. So the idea of China peaking, I think, is rather misplaced. China wants to grow at 5, 6, 7%. It's going to have that new industrialization, that new technology. But in either case, China hasn't peaked.
And I think we shouldn't lose sight of the overall benefits that those trade investment relationships have for each other. We would like to see more European companies investing here, and we'd like to see more Chinese companies investing in Europe as well.
Let's face it, there are genuine concerns about investing in China, and those concerns should be heeded for China to continue to meaningfully engage with the rest of the world. But there are noises and fake news too that people should maneuver through to get a real picture of today's China.